Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Red's Roundup. And we got a full house today. We're going to have music, memories, and entertainment. And we thank our guest today, Mr. Sean Avery. He is
folks.
um, and he's a classic country singer from Columbus. He has been playing all over the area. And at several places, Club Vinton in Vinton County, and he's played in Pike County and Ross County and over at Scotty's on First. This is where I met the gentleman.
Yep.
I wanted him to come on today, and he has an interesting occupation, and today's opening song is going to tell you a little bit about what he does. Why don't you get us started, sir?
Well, they call me the fireman. That's my name. Making my rounds all over town, putting out old flames. Well, everybody like to have what I got. Well, I can cool them down. They're smoldering hot. I'm a fireman. That's my name. Last night they had a bad one a mile or two down the road. Seems a buddy walked out and left his woman burning out of control. Well, I was down there about an hour or so with a little mouth to mouth. She was ready to go. I'm your fireman. That's my name. They call me the fireman. That's my name. Making my rounds all over town, putting out old flames. Well, everybody like to have what I got. I can cool them down. They're smoldering hot. I'm the fireman. That's my name. Got a fire engine red T-Bird automobile. In a minute or less, I could be dressed fit to kill. I work 24 on, 24 off. When it gets too hot, you just give me a call. I'm your fireman. That's my name. They call me the fireman. That's my name. Making my rounds all over town, putting out old flames. Well, everybody like to have what I got. Well, I can cool them down. They're smoldering hot. I'm your fireman. That's my name. Yeah, they call me the fireman. Baby, that's my name.
And opening the Red's Roundup. There's Sean Avery with the fireman. Do you know anything about that occupation, sir?
I know a little bit about it, just enough to get me in trouble. But
Sean is a fireman with the Grove City Fire Department.
Columbus, City of Columbus.
City of Columbus
Yep,
Fire
yep.
Department.
Yep.
Okay. He lives in Grove City.
I live in Grove City, yeah.
Okay. And tell us about your journey into country music and why you like the older songs, and we're going to hear a lot of them today. But why do you love the older songs so much?
It's what I grew up on. And Mom and Dad played music. My brothers are all musical except for the baby brother, Dallas. He's a motocross rider. But we all grew up around music. Mom and Dad played, and I grew up watching Hee Haw. And in fact, that's how I learned how to play guitar, was watching Hee Haw. And I'd watch where they put their fingers, and I'd be like, Mom, what is this? She was, honey, that's a G. And like, Mom, what is this? And that's a D. And that's how I learned how to play guitar. And it just got in the bloodstream and stuck with it for what now? I don't want to give myself away. So I started at 13 or 14, so it's been at least 5 or 6 years since I started.
And Hayden Milliken, Total Media's own Hayden Milliken, who we don't call Hayden anymore. We just call him Hank now.
Yeah, you just call me Hank. You know, like we say on the radio, like Cher, Madonna, Beyonce, just Hank. There's no
Just
last
Hank.
name anymore. I lost my surname, but no, Red, you had me come over here because the Jackson County Fair is in full swing. Tomorrow is the last day of the fair. Today, it's brought to you by Ricer Equipment, $12 admission. At 9 o'clock this morning, they had the Junior Fair Showman of Showmen contest. The rides are going to be open starting at 5 o'clock and going until 11 this evening. Also tonight, Red Fast Tracks Motocross. Everyone loves motocross shows.
Oh, yes.
Mm-hmm.
man. I'm a sucker for a good motocross show myself. Also, they have a Grab That Axe, the mobile axe throwing. Believe it or not, it is free to go do that. You can throw axes for free. And what it is, they got like the setup, and they got a big target, and you're throwing the axes at the target. And I went over there, and this guy who's doing the axe throwing, who's conducting this stuff, I'll tell you, this guy, he scares me. I'll tell you what, he's training these kids to be sharpshooters with tomahawks. Like, I watched a little boy go over, never threw a tomahawk before a day in his life. He goes over there and he gets a bullseye after this guy gives him a rundown of
Wow.
what to do. He gives him like maybe just a couple minute rundown, like, okay, here's what you do, you hold it, and then he threw it, got a bullseye. So I'm definitely afraid of this man. I would not want to mess with him in a fight.
He's a survivor.
And Red will talk about this a little more in detail in a moment.
Before we go on, it's a public service announcement. Only do that at the Jackson County Fair.
Yeah.
Don't be throwing axes at people outside of the fair,
Yeah.
please, and thank you.
Keep all your digits.
You don't want to lose any significant limbs.
We don't want to encourage violence on this show. Okay,
Well,
go ahead. Abe.
Either way, where were we? So talking about the axe throwing, and like we were mentioning, also 3 o'clock is the Junior Fair livestock sale coming on in just a little less than an hour now. We got cows, pigs, just to name a couple things. We got lambs, sheep. I don't know the order exactly off the top of my head, but there is a set list out there. If you go on social media, you can see a list of the animals for sale in the order that they will be sold. And Red will talk about that a little more in a moment. I want to say
And
something
that's
about
going to be on, now tell, you said that's going to be on the Total Media channel?
that's going to be on the Total Media Facebook. And I just want to say something about this guy. We were listening to him doing sound bites before we were here. A few things here. One thing, I'm not trying to put you on the spot here, but one you were doing, if you can, you don't have to do the whole song, just a
Right.
little snippet of it. The one you were talking about, you were listening to it on the way here. You did a little snippet for me a moment ago. You did the Bobby Bear version of it. Of course, there's a few versions of the song, but before I head out here, that's how I got to Memphis.
I could do a little portion of it. If you love somebody you love, you'll follow wherever they go. That's how I got to Memphis. That's how I got to Memphis. She get mine, she hears to say, she'll come back to Memphis someday. That's how I got to Memphis. I got to Memphis.
Oh,
Well, thank you. I've been handed my own microphone even.
Well, look at this.
VIP treatment or...
well, Hayden, it's cause you're Hank. That's
Well,
why.
yeah, I guess I do get some sort of VIP luxury treatment, and here's a stand for it if I want it. But no, I don't mind holding it here for a moment. See, you guys get the nice stands. I'm just a spoke on the wheel for the next couple minutes because Randy had asked me to come over and read the fair schedule. But no, to reiterate what you're talking about, yes, it will be streamed on Total Media Facebook. So if you want to see the livestock auction, that's going to be going on. Normally, those things go pretty late. There's countless animals up for sale, different breeds of animals, and there's a ton of animals that being sent in every category. So we're talking like sometimes 11 o'clock, midnight. I've seen them go as late as 1 or 2 in the morning.
Oh my goodness.
Now, let's do some. Jeremiah, our own Jeremiah Shaver, the man on the spot around here. I'm glad he's young and he's there to be on the spot. I'm kind of getting into the meetings. I can still be on the spot once in a while. I was for a couple of things last week, but Jeremiah's our main guy on the spot, and he tells me that they've done some changes. They're trying to cut off some time. They've got a designated picture areas.
Yeah, I heard something about that as well. Also, something that's new this year apparently with the Jackson County Fair, and I did not see them on the list for the livestock sale, but I heard they showed alpacas.
Oh, wow. I'm not much of a farmer. I'm a small town guy, maybe, but I probably I've seen alpacas, and I think they spit a lot. Is that the ones that spit?
kind of
Yeah,
little
they're the
llamas.
ones that spit
Yeah.
everywhere. And real quick, Red, here, before I head out here on you, you just wanted me to do this for you. We're talking about Saturday. Tomorrow is, of course, the last day of the Jackson County Fair before Sunday when we, throughout the weekend, there's a soft opening for the Vinton County Fair with, I believe, admissions free throughout the weekend, right, Red? That's what I thought. And on Mondays when the Vinton County Fair is in full effect with the rides and, everything on the Midway. But tomorrow is the last day of full operations for the Jackson County Fair. The gates will be open for the fair tack removal at 4 a.m., so they're going to be basically hauling everything out in the morning hours. Let me take a look over here, Red. We got this schedule. And then we got the mullet contest.
Mullet.
Yeah, they're doing a mullet contest to see who has the best mullet.
I think you and I are out of that one.
Oh, yeah, we lose. We lose.
I don't know if I could grow a mullet in a day. I mean, I could try growing a mullet in a day. My little cousin, he lives with me. He tried growing out a mullet, and he's come pretty close to doing it. It's kind of scary, and I keep telling him, man, don't grow a mullet. He's like, but girls like mullets now. I'm like, what girl? And then 1 o'clock is registration for the baby contest. They're doing a baby contest, a cute baby contest at 5 o'clock, 1 o'clock with a $5 entrance fee. And then at 2 o'clock is the contest itself. And this is the headline, Red. People come from near and far for this event. The Demolition Derby. The Brent Jenkins Memorial Demolition Derby. People come far and wide. I'll say, other than musical entertainment, because last year we had Neil McCoy play at the Jackson County Fair. And we've
Wonderful
had
show.
And we've had the Kentucky Headhunters a couple times. We've had some big musical acts throughout the years. And then we had Jimmy Mowry this year. He was a contestant on The Voice. Other than musical entertainment, the Demolition Derby draws by far the biggest crowd at the Jackson County Fair than any other event.
Funny how people love to see destruction.
People just love destruction. They must have an appetite for it.
It's the cars catch on fire and they bring out the squads and but people, that is a fair staple. It's like corn dogs,
You have to do both.
You gotta have some corn dogs at the demo derby.
And one more thing, Brad, before we go here and transition over to him, I'll take off here in a moment. But before I go, I'm going to request one more. I heard you singing a little bit of it a moment ago when we were getting ready to go on air. Keith Whitley, of course, he was gone way too soon. Definitely one of the biggest tragedies in country music history. And I noticed you cover a lot of Keith Whitley songs. You cover a lot of ground there. And Keith Whitley is definitely, and even in a lot of ways that people don't fully understand, influenced country music the way it is today. And mainly the singers of the 90s took more from him and more inspiration than I think people even understand. But the song you were singing, Between an Old Memory and Me.
Oh, yeah. You didn't realize he would have been 70 this year.
Really?
Yep.
Either way, Red, I'm going to step aside and listen to him over here, and then I'm going to get ready to do some things I need to do. I appreciate you having me.
Thank you, Hayden. And we also, before he sings again, we wanted to welcome all our listeners, not only on Main Street TV, but on 105.3 FM. That's Fox Sports Radio, and on the Total Media radio app 105.3. If you don't have it, go to your phone, to your Apple or Google Play Store, download us, and it just takes about 2 seconds to download. Hit the button and turn on 105.3. There we are, Fox Sports Radio all across the country. And we got an out-of-state listener. We're going to mention in a minute, but when we get to our Mill Street segment. But right now, we're going to turn Sean loose again and for some more classic country music.
Okay.
Keith Whitley, that is.
Well, I was sitting at a table, a little club downtown, playing songs on the jukebox and pouring whiskey down. When I heard a sweet voice saying, would you like some company? I had to tell her, it's just between an old memory and me. All my friends tell me I'm a fool for holding on. And I know they're trying to help me, but I've been a fool too long. And I don't want to talk about it, so why can't everybody see it? It's just between an old memory and me. No, I'm not hurting anybody, as far as I can see. I just need to be alone sometimes when she goes walking through my mind. And I don't want to talk about it, so why can't everybody see? It's just between an old memory and me. No, I'm not hurting anybody, Lord, as far as I can see. I just need to be alone sometimes when she goes walking through my mind. And I don't want to talk about it, so why can't they just let me be? This is just between an old memory and me. This is just between an old memory and me.
Oh, the great sounds of Sean Avery, bringing back that Keith Whitley spirit to us. And I interviewed Jesse Keith over at Scotty's, and Sean has played at Scotty's.
Yeah.
And why is Keith Whitley music bigger than when he passed away?
Wow, it's timeless. You know, Keith Whitley's songs are actually just timeless. I don't know if there's anybody who's matched it. You know, as far as the soul that his voice and the heart that he put into it, you know, you feel his songs. You know, everything he sang. Don't matter if it was a fast song, you felt the Keith Whitley songs. You know, and it's just, you throw out. You know, I play all over the place: Central Ohio, Southern Ohio. I played down in Texas, down in Ranger, Texas, Fort Worth, Abilene, and stuff. You know, where George Strait's the king. You know, but the minute you say, "You guys mind if I play a Keith Whitley song?" the place goes ballistic. I mean, hopping and hooping and hollering and yee-hawing, and it's you know, like Mom always said, you know, you can't go wrong, son, with a Merle Haggard song. And then she also said, you know, another person you can't go wrong with, honey. And this was back when he was still alive. She goes, you can't go wrong with Keith Whitley either. You know.
You know, I think Keith was so much of his own person, and Keith never realized how good he was. I've met Keith's brother. I've interviewed him, Dwight. He is a great guy. Dwight is a great musician himself, bluegrass. And Dwight, Ricky, and Keith had a radio show in West Liberty, Kentucky. And that's how it all got started. They was 15 years old. The Keith Whitley story is, country music seems to have its share of tragedies. And the Keith Whitley story, there was another man. And I have a good friend in Mississippi, Gene Redwine, and we talk daily. And I went to visit him a couple weeks ago, and he loves Mel Street.
Oh yeah.
And Mel Street had a similar type story to Keith Whitley. Nashville was just too much for Mel.
Yeah. It's amazing that, like we was talking earlier, that you imagine all the glitz and the glitter and stuff like that man, he's got nothing to be upset about. It's got no problems whatsoever. But it's not like that. It's a business, and you know what people see on stage is totally different than what's behind the curtain. You know.
You know, I think Mel was different than a lot of them. A lot of them only have their music. Mel was successful before he went to Nashville. He had a garage. He owned a garage. He owned he did local radio in southern West Virginia and Virginia. He did club circuits, had his own TV show on Channel 6 in Bluefield, West Virginia. He was a regional star before he went to Nashville. But in Nashville, especially back then, I wrote a column and ran it across the country on my personal website. I got about 2,500 views, and for not being known outside of Jackson and Benton County, I was kind of proud of that. But I wonder if Mel would have had the technology they have today, if he would have done better, or he could have maybe stayed at home more and sung. And
Probably, probably would. The studio time is cut in half nowadays, as far as the digital stuff, and you don't have to stand around the microphone and move everything back and forth and, ribbon tapes and stuff like that. Then some artists go in and they lay down a vocal track, and if it wasn't quite right, if you weren't quite to pitch, you had to sing that line over again, and they would punch you in and punch you out of it, and nowadays with the digital technology, if you're just a hair shy of it flat or just a hair sharp, they simply grab it with the mouse and bring it down, and I think it's actually helped out quite a bit. I mean, some of the older schools, the digital is harsh sounding to them, but it saves the artist, I think, a lot of time of sitting in the studio and just going over and over and over things. But you still can't beat that old 2-inch tape sound, as far as the warmth, the warmth of analog. But it has gotten the processes a little smoother, a little easier now.
And also the time you can reach audiences.
Oh yeah,
a lot easier. Taylor Swift did that Swiftie event in one of our. It was in our theaters, but it was in theaters across the country. Yeah. You can use the marketing technology to reach audiences like you could never reach before.
Back in the day, you had to jump in your truck or your bus or your van, and you had to drive out to radio stations and clubs and stuff like that. Now you had to go audition. Nowadays they pull you up on Facebook and say, "Hey, I'd like you to come down and play," which is I'm okay with, because that's what got me back to playing on a regular basis. So worked out great for me.
And it's a wonderful. It's wonderful the people and Gene told me that he was a DJ. He was a DJ in the 70s when Mel was coming up, and this is what you may have heard back in the 1970s on one of his shows. Why don't you give us a little sample what Mel would have sounded like?
A little sample of it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know I'm late. Getting home tonight. Can supper wait? I guess I've lost my appetite. You can fix me a drink and anything's okay. And by the way, I met a friend of yours today. I was working on the other side of town, and coming home, I thought I'd stop and have a round. And in this bar, well, I heard someone speak your name, and that's how I met a friend of yours today. And I listened for a while, and I could tell stranger there, he knew you much too well. And I introduced myself. Man, you should have seen his face. Oh, what a shame I met a friend of yours today.
Oh, wow.
That's one of my favorite lines in a song. It's when I introduced myself. Man, you should have seen his face.
You know, that's a snippet of a sample of what the radio would have sounded like in the 1970s, and unfortunately, Mel chose to end his own life.
Yeah,
and
very sad.
And it was the pressure of Nashville. He just couldn't take. But he certainly, I think, he belongs in the Hall of Fame.
Oh gosh, yeah. I mean, you look at "Borrowed Angel" and "Backstreet Affair" and all those songs. It's like, why would he not be in there? You know, it's amazing.
And you know, you don't hear a lot of. We talked about this guy, and he just passed away. When we were discussing before we went on air. It's all pop today, and the country's not what it used to be. But there was one guy that kind of slipped through, and a guy from Oklahoma kind of wrote his own book. And what about and since he's died, he's got a lot of publicity, and people are starting to see what an impact Toby Keith had.
Yeah.
What do you think of somebody in an environment not really suited for him? He shines through.
Well, you know, when he first came down, according to his documentary on him, he went around record labels and stuff like that and was trying to push his songs and stuff like that. And they told him he needs to go back home and work on his songwriting. And it was like one of the first songs that he pitched was, you know, I bet you never heard old Marshall Dillon say, Miss Kitty, have you ever thought of running away? You know, that was one of the first ones he pitched. And they told him that he needs to go home and work on his songwriting.
A little too country.
Yeah.
A little too
It's like,
country.
oh my goodness. And I think don't quote me on the number, but I think of the 10 or 12 songs that they told him were no good, go rework them, rewrite them. I think he left them alone, recorded them, and I think 8 of them were number 1 songs, you know, so, at least on the charts.
Well, I think that Toby Keith was so pure, and he did it his own way, and that's very hard to do in Nashville today.
It is. They are very. It's a do it your own style in your own way. It's almost like sometimes a slap in their face, you know, because I mean that's their business, is what they do, but it's just that it's a business, you know, and they want control of it. So
yeah, I want to say hello to someone else that's watching. I've never met this lady, but I do a lot of country music forums on Facebook, and I met her. She does a radio show in Texas. Her name's Erin Caldwell, and she does the Righteous Hillbilly radio show. And she said in that she's watching today, and she loves to watch the classic country singers. And her show's all over Facebook, several platforms. She lives in Texas, and just want to give her a shout out. We always like to. Isn't that amazing? The technology. We got people out of state watching us.
yeah.
And you sent a link out to your fans before the show.
Yeah, my folks down in Ranger, Texas, Bill, Pam, Randall, the hat. They just got this hat a couple of days ago. They sent that to me. The guitar by Bill and Pam down there, H&R Feed and Fertilizer. They sent this up for me, and it's like, thanks, guys. I'll see you guys in October.
Yeah, I want to tell you a story about a guitar. I don't know if you heard this. Did you hear a story about Bill Anderson's guitar?
No.
We're going to make this short. It's a long story, but we're just going to give you the snippet view. Bill got a guitar from Billy Grammer.
Okay.
When Billy had a guitar shop. He was making them and selling them. And he gave Bill one to promote, and somehow Bill lost it. He goes, I don't know if I lost it or if it was stolen. He goes, I honestly can't remember. But anyway, years and years later, Bill was on his cell phone. It shows you how long it'd been, and he gets a text from somebody in Phoenix, Arizona that owns a pawn shop. And they got this old guitar, and they saw his name on it. And they said, could this possibly be yours? And he looked at it, and it was that old Billy Grammer.
Wow.
And he said, do you want it back? And he said, well, I was FaceTiming him or communicating with him, however he did it. He said, I got to thinking to myself, he goes, I want it back, but I'm not going to pay some astronomical price to get it back. He goes, I'll send it back to you. And Bill said, what do you want for it? And he said, Wendy and I guess Wendy was his wife. He goes, Wendy and I have never been to Nashville. We'd love to see the Grand Ole Opry. If you could get us a plane, hotel, and Opry tickets, I'll bring the guitar back. And Bill said, that's pretty fair.
Yeah, he can do it, too. He's like, what, the longest standing member right now?
Yeah, I think
Grand Ole
so.
Opry?
And then the guy had a surprise for him. He not only bought the guitar back, he remastered it.
Really?
And that Bill didn't know he was going to do that. It was as good as the day he lost it. Or
Neck
got stolen.
reset, new frets, new bridge. Oh, my goodness. So he put a few dollars into it, because that's, neck reset, $700 or $800 plus frets is $1,000. But it's like, wow.
And yeah, Bill paid for their hotel, and he introduced them on the Opry.
Absolutely
and
awesome.
Treated them to a Nashville weekend. And
That is awesome.
and so you just never know. And that technology, if it wasn't for the technology, Bill would have never known where that.
Nope, it would have been gone forever. It's a blessing and a curse all at the same time. It really is. It's amazing that it used to be everything was a long distance call if it was outside. Now you can call wherever in the world, and it's not long distance. It's crazy.
And one of the, you speak of guitars, and it's just Nashville was such a guitar town, and the Ryman. Have you been to the Ryman?
I used to. I was down in Nashville in '97 working on an album, and of course, people were wooing you, trying to get you to come over and talk to them, management and stuff like that. And I used to get backstage passes all the time, and I had 2 photo albums this thick with me sitting playing with Ricky Skaggs and the boys warming up, and me and Grandpa Jones and Martina McBride, Porter Wagner, anybody that was on the show. I was just backstage hanging out with them, and I'd go into, their warm-up rooms and stuff and play, and I'd stand off the back and watch them. And our basement flooded years ago, and those photo albums were down there, and the only picture that saved was you can see about half of my head and Grandpa Jones, and that was it. Out of all those photos, 3 photo albums, and everything was gone. So now I tell everybody about it, and they're like, yeah, sure, whatever, you were backstage. Okay, Sean, and I have no proof now.
Oh my goodness. I'll tell you that those were the days. And I know Marty Stewart. We saw him at the Ryman. Mm-hmm. I wish I had the picture that I took when I was there. It's him and Kenny Vaughn. You could see cousin Kenny in the back.
Yeah.
Did you meet Marty? Did you ever meet Marty?
Did not. I never got to meet. I saw him a couple times down there in passing. Because I did a lot down on 16th Avenue and stuff, and you'd see Marty Stewart walk across the street. Mm-hmm. I almost ran over Vince Gill. I was driving up by the college, and we were heading to get lunch or something, and I was driving a big old purple Dodge Dually, big old Cummins diesel, and we're cruising down the road, and this guy comes out between these cars and freezes. I mean, I slammed on the brakes, and he just froze right in the middle of the street, and I couldn't have been more than 6 feet from him. And he just looked over, and he goes, sorry, and he walked off, and I was sitting there with some friends of mine. I'm like, that was Vince Gill. And then one guy yelled out the window, hey, Vince. He turned around and waved, sorry, guys, and went on to where he was doing. But it's like, how popular would I have been had I run over Vince Gill,
You mentioned Martina,
mm-hmm.
and I saw a documentary about Martina, and she came up with you talked about music that stays forever, and Martina's manager, when Martina first mentioned Timeless, her manager, they'd been out, I guess, at a party or something, apparently, and it was late. And her manager didn't even pay attention to it.
Really?
He thought she was drunk or thought she was just tired.
Really?
And they thought Timeless was crazy. And Martina said something like this. She said, "You guys don't understand. We're gonna do Timeless if I lose money on it."
Right. Well, yeah. And there's been a couple stories of songs of major artists that the record company or someone's telling them, you don't want to record that song. That's a horrible song, blah, 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 blah. And they're like, you know what? It's for me. I want to record this one for me.
And if you don't know, I think Timeless was Martina's biggest selling album.
Really? Wow.
And they didn't even want to do it because they just thought it was too country.
Yeah. There was a story of some songwriter. I think it was someone sent a song to George Strait or sent a song to somebody else. And they said, "No, I'm not going to record that." And I forget what song it was, but they sent it, off to George Strait. And said, "Man, these people sent me this song. I'm not a big fan of it." And blah blah blah. And I think George Strait recorded it and made a number one out of it. I believe. There's so many stories like that down in that town that it's it's amazing the luck, the hard work. You're pounding the pavement every day, but when they say you got to be in the right place at the right time, it's a needle in a haystack kind of thing. You got a lot of people down there sign you, but they've got a bigger artist, so they sign somebody good and they sit on them. Because our money's behind this person right now. So we're going to sign you so nobody else gets you and uses you as our competition, and then you just patiently plug away and wait your turn,
And a lot of people has had to wait a long time.
Oh, yeah.
And it's the Opry. The Opry scene's a little bit different than it was. Sometimes it seems like people gets on there fast, and then other people have to pay their dues. And you got so many different avenues with the television shows you have today, The Voice, and I met a gentleman, last night, Jimmy Mallory, as Hayden mentioned when he was in, he was on The Voice. And a lot of people are building platform careers off shows like that, and all those different avenues. Now, how did you become prominent in Southern Ohio? You're getting pretty well known around here.
I grew up in Chillicothe. I graduated Chillicothe, class of '84.
Right.
And
Go Cavs!
Yeah, it's actually our 40th year reunion is this weekend, actually. And I'm sorry I won't be able to go, folks. I'll be at the firehouse for 24 hours tomorrow, but I'll be there in spirit. But I grew up down this area. My brothers and I played music down here for years, and it was a full band stuff, and we traveled all around. And then I just kind of, once I got into, I worked for the Department of Corrections for several years. And then once I got with the fire department and stuff, just was concentrating so hard on that, I just kind of forgot about playing music, for probably 10, 11 years, 12 years. And then when COVID came around, you couldn't go anywhere or do anything. And I walked upstairs and I grabbed a guitar out of the closet. And my wife was like, "Honey, what are you doing?" I said, "Well, can't go anywhere. I might as well knock the dust off one of these." And I sat on the back porch and she recorded it with her phone. And my son comes out at the time. He's 14, 15. And he says, "Dad, you got to put those on Facebook." I said, "Son, I don't know what Spacebook is." So he took my phone and he put them on there. And then within a week or so, there's 3,000, 4,000 views. And places started calling me up. "Hey, I'd like to book you here. I'd like to book you there." And at first I'm like, "Well, if you're okay with those 3 songs, because that's all I can remember right now, I got to get back to work here." And I said, "Give me a month or so." And I buckled down, and then, I've been playing like crazy ever since, and I'm absolutely loving it.
They always want to say that country music is dead, and it may be mainstream, but it's certainly not on the internet. There are several channels on Facebook, the Appalachian Channel. Some gentleman in Kentucky's doing it. There's several Appalachian type channels that has this type of music, and there's several country store shows. And Sullivan's Old Time Country Hour down in Tennessee. I think they're on WSM. And Floyd. I've been to the Floyd Country Store in Virginia. They
Nice.
do a lot of the acoustic music, and we did have our own. As Hayden was over here earlier, we had a homegrown happy hour last couple of years, and I don't think they're going to do that this year, but you would have been a wonderful guest for it.
Well, that'd be fun.
But before we, time's slipping away, but I do want to give you an opportunity to. How does people book you? I definitely want to get that in.
Most of the time they get a hold of me through Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
You can look me up. Anybody's got any questions, you can look me up on Facebook. It's just under Sean Avery. I've got several videos of just me sitting around the house playing. Most time I'm not all dressed up or nothing. Old holy T-shirt, cut off sweats or something. But yeah, you can check it out. Listen to some videos. Message me on Facebook Messenger, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Because right now I am booked pretty solid all the way through December.
So you're your own people. They don't have to get a hold of you.
No, you talk to me. I might be sitting there eating a pork chop when you call or something, but I'll talk to you if you don't mind me talking with my mouth full. But yeah, it's easy.
Sean's one of the growing. We have several bands and around the area that does traditional country music. Last night we was with the Redbreast Band. They're our very own Jackson County Americana country gospel band. You'd like those guys. They played all over the country.
Oh yeah.
They played from New York to California. They even wrote a New York play about their grandfather.
Really?
Out of the Redbreast.
How fun.
Hit Broadway. And
Fun.
we learned about that when Alan came in. And there's another band from London. I don't know if you met them, the Smoking Ham Band.
Smoking Ham, yeah, I've heard of.
They play country music, and there's a local favorite. He's from Columbus also. You might know him, Simba Jordan.
I have seen him. I don't know him personally, but I have seen his posts and stuff, yes.
He works for the city of Columbus, I think in the water department.
Yeah, I'm City of Columbus Division of Fire, so it's a
You guys got the same employer, different divisions.
different divisions.
Yeah, but he supplies the water to put out the fires.
Yeah, thank goodness he's there, because sometimes it gets pretty hot without water, so.
And I see that you got a Merle Haggard song poured up, but before we turn you loose on Merle, lead into this. One night during an old Eddie Stubbs show when he was still at WSM years ago, Merle shows up at 2:00 in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't know if Eddie knew he was coming in or not. And somebody asked Eddie, they said, "What'd y'all play?" He goes, "Well, Merle Haggard was here. We played whatever Merle Haggard wanted."
No doubt.
He said they played songs for. Well, I guess Eddie was on from 8 to 1 our time, so I guess he come in about 10 maybe. Anyway, the last 2 or 3 hours, I guess Merle just sit in with him and they played. I think they said they played 3 of Merle's songs and everybody else, then the rest was everybody else's.
I don't know if Merle Haggard were alive today, if he were to walk in here, if I'd be able to play anything. You would probably have to get out the smelling salts and wake me back up, because I'd be face down on top of my guitar, because that whole genre, the Merle Haggards, the Conway Twitties, Waylon Jennings, George Jones, that group I grew up on, and it is so embedded into my bloodstream. I had somebody come up last night, and I have nothing against today's country music. I just don't listen to it. I listen to the songs that you can vision as they're singing the song. You can run it all through your mind and picture it. And had somebody come up last night and asked if I knew any Jason Aldean. I'm like, well, she sounds like a real pretty name, but I don't know who she is. And they were like, it's a guy. I'm like, oh, I'm sorry.
Speaking of real songs, you've got one poured up.
Oh, yeah.
And I know we're past Mother's Day, but certainly on, you'd want to listen to this song on Mother's Day. It's really about family. It's about a pastime, and it's about all the great things that mamas do out there.
Oh, yeah.
Would you go ahead and fire this one up and for the crowd? This is what you might have heard on the radio back in the day. A great Merle Haggard song.
You want me to do the whole thing, or just?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. First thing I remember knowing There's a lonesome whistle blowing and the youngest dream growing up the ride. On a freight train leaving town, not knowing where I'm bound. No one could change my mind, but Mama tried. One and only rebel child from a family meek and mild. My mama seemed to know what lay in store. In spite of all my Sunday learning, towards the bad I kept on turning till Mama couldn't hold me anymore. I turned 21 in prison, doing life without parole. No one could steer me right, but Mama tried. Mama tried, Mama tried to raise me better. Her pleading I denied, and that leaves only me to blame, 'cause Mama tried. Dear old daddy, rest his soul, left my mom a heavy load. She tried so very hard to fill his shoes, working hours without rest, wanted me to have the best. She tried to raise me right, but I refused. And I turned 21 in prison, doing life without parole. No one could steer me right, but Mama tried. Mama tried, Mama tried to raise me better. Her pleading I denied, and that leaves only me to blame, 'cause Mama tried. That leaves only me to blame, 'cause Mama tried.
Oh, wow. John Avery. And
guys.
if you're looking for a classic country singer, this is your guy right here. And he does an old Merle Haggard song. And, you know, a lot of those old, a lot of the older singers they learned to sing in church.
Yeah.
And I didn't know, one thing I meant to ask you before the show, do you do any, a lot of the older entertainers used to have gospel selections. Do you do any faith or inspiration?
I wish I did, and I wouldn't be confident enough to do it on a TV show, you know. Sitting around the house and stuff, yeah, you know, but when there's people paying attention, I kind of shy back, stick to the old stuff that I know, you know, and not that it's just makes me sweat, you know, because it's like I know a whole. That's what I say. It's like I know a little bit of everything and a whole lot of nothing, you know.
Well, you know, I know country music is so real. And there's some of the stars that still love it. And one's going to be at the Gallia County Fair, and we'll mention him because the Total Media has radio stations in the Gallup, Point, Pleasant Market, and I think it's on July 31st, I believe. Gallia County Fair is going to have Tracy Bird, and what a man that's really stayed committed to some of the past.
Stay committed to tradition, yeah, sure did. And that's that group like Mark Chestnut and that group there that came through. You know, they stayed pretty solid to what got them in the door. You know, my always thing is always leave with the one that brought you to the dance. Well, if classic country and traditional style country music brought you to the dance, keep it. You know, don't discard it and take off and do the pop scene stuff. I mean, there's a person that makes a lot of money doing that and big touring stuff, but that person broke into writing country music and for country people. And sometimes it's not always just about the money, you know, and the fame and the glitz. It's about, like myself, you know, people are like, man, you need to go on the road and start doing it. No, I enjoy what I'm doing. I enjoy being a firefighter in Columbus, you know, and the dive team and stuff. And I enjoy when I get off work to go to Scotty's on First or Club Vinton and Bullshots up in the west side of Columbus, one of my home bases with JT Henry and stuff. I enjoy that because it's not a business. For me, it's an escape, kind of like a therapy, you know. You get out of the firefighting scene, you know, and the car accidents and this and that and this and that, and then I get to sit down and play Merle Haggard, Conway Twitty songs and stuff. It's like, if I complained about my life, it would be completely selfish. You know, it would be, someone would smack me. you know, I would probably smack me if I heard me saying something, you know, complaining, you know, about what I do and what I get to do for a living and what I get to do for a recreation, you know.
You know, I think that people, I think with the internet, it kind of binds music, and we mentioned Europe. In Europe, they just love the straight traditional hard country. There was a DJ in Athens, Greece, that became very popular by playing old country.
Right.
WSM heard him, and for a while, WSM actually ran his show
Awesome.
on. I don't remember the gentleman's name. He actually came to Nashville and introduced the Grand Ole Opry. They had him as a guest DJ.
That's awesome.
And yeah, I used to listen to it, and it said from live from Athens, Greece, and this is
Nice.
apparently Nashville has the pavilion, which they have in Athens. So Athens and Nashville have some commonality.
Now, does he play like the traditional, like the Merle Haggards and the Conways and stuff like that?
Uh-huh.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and
That's
he became part of WSM. I don't think they do it anymore, but they did for several years. He, in the middle of the night, they would. And they didn't, he wasn't live, but they would, you know, do the podcast. I guess that's the word you use now of the show. And they did it, and they gave him his own intro on WSM, and
That's awesome.
really opened
It's
it up.
awesome that they're keeping it alive. You know, and it, like what I do and a lot of other guys do that come out and play this, you know, this classic country stuff, you know, you'd be actually surprised at how many teenagers will sit up there, like when I do a song, Mama Tried or Mama's Hungry Eyes or something like that, how many times you'll see somebody in their early 20s out there singing right along with you. And it's like, it blows your mind, you know, that this is, you know, everybody thinks, oh, this classic stuff, that's for 50 and up, you know, nobody. But these young kids, they know who Merle Haggard is. They know who Conway Twitty is. They know who George Jones is, you know, so it's that evolving cycle, you know, that, you know, everything comes around and repeats itself kind of thing. And these young kids know the songs I play.
You know, I'm going to ask you to close with a classic. And when you said revolving, we talked about Keith Whitley earlier. I'd love you to close with "I Never Go Around Mirrors."
Oh, yes, sir.
And we're going to close with that one. That song is so kids love. I went to a homegrown happy hour. There was a 19-year-old from Eastern Kentucky that played. He had a Keith Whitley shirt on. I mean, I see, as you mentioned, I see kids in their 20s and 30s. And Keith, they told Keith he was too country.
Yeah.
They told.
Well, that's what they tell a lot of people now down in Nashville, you know, from what I understand is, well, you're too country. Well, they did it to me in 97. They were like, they were pushing all these pop country songs.
Yeah.
I'm like, guys, you know, can we have more style? Well, that's just not what's selling nowadays. That's not what people are listening to. I listen to it. You know, all my friends listen to it. You know.
Well, I think it's they tell. Well, Dustin Lynch, as big as he's got. You know, I interviewed him at the Turkey Festival in MacArthur. Cowboys and Angels made him a star.
Yeah.
He said he wanted to do more songs like that. He never has.
Yeah.
They don't. Concert promoters don't like those kind of songs, apparently.
Like, who was it? Was it George Jones with 3 Chords in the Truth?
Yeah.
You know.
Sarah Evans did that too.
Yeah, and now everybody it's more about how many instruments can we fit into this song in 3.5 minutes? Not what can this song say in 3.5 minutes? It's how much can we squeeze in here, you know? And somebody says, just because you put a steel guitar and a fiddle in it, don't make it country.
Yeah, man, I've discussed this with Gene too. We discuss country music a lot, and country music has, and I'm glad it opens up audiences to them. The
Brings in new listeners,
conventioners. On the conventioner side, the songs I think the show is just part of it. Medical conventions, computer conventions. They might not be fans. It's not like the old days where Grandma and Grandpa saved their whole life to go to Nashville and see their favorite singer.
Go to one time, yeah.
This is a medical convention, a golf convention, a computer convention, and entertainment's part of it. So just a standard show makes them happy.
Right.
I mean, they might. You can put together a nice show. I'm not saying it's bad. It's just. They might not be your fans. They might enjoy your show, if you know what I'm.
Oh, there's a big difference. Yeah, there's a big difference between acquaintances and friends. Yeah,
And I think that's one thing that we miss when Grandpa and Grandma did save. I think that was so wonderful when, you'd see a couple in their 60s. Well, we've saved for 30 years to finally get to come here to Nashville.
appreciate it a lot more. And nowadays, everything's so accessible. The appreciation of it has kind of drifted a little bit. Because it becomes no big deal anymore because it's so accessible. So it's kind of changed things up a little bit.
Do you remember this? Roy Clark, one time, he said, listening to WSM as a kid, we listened to WSM and it was all, and the static was part of it.
Mm-hmm. It's like old 45s. I've got a jukebox in my basement that plays 45s. My mom's record's on there, and I've got Merle and Elvis and all these people. I can turn that thing up and just sit down. I love that. That static and stuff that's in it, and every once in a while the song will skip a little bit, and I'm like, just love it. Absolutely love it.
And we're going to close. We're going to let Sean tune up again and we're going to finish with Keith because Keith was Appalachian.
Yeah.
He was one of us. Keith is from about 100, 125 miles from here.
Nice.
Sandy Hook. And Keith never forgot Sandy Hook.
Yep.
And when Keith was coming up, and we'll get one more comment from me, then we'll turn you loose on this one. They told Keith not to do this one. And they didn't like that Keith wanted to do this. They thought it was too country. There was certain.
This classic Lefty Frizzell tune, they didn't want him to do it.
No, they did not. And right before Keith died, I think Keith finally got big, and he said, "I'm so big now. I'm going to do it on the Opry." This is one of the last songs that Keith did on the Opry.
No way.
And it is a classic. And a lot of times I'll close with a gospel song, but today we're going to close with one of the greatest classics, I think, in country music. And anyone that likes country music can identify with this one. And we're going to turn you loose to close the show with a great song that Keith loved as a kid, and he did right before he passed away on the Opry. And why don't you go ahead and turn us loose with the classic.
I can't stand to see a good man go to waste. One who never combs his hair or shaves his face. A man who leans on wine over love has told a lie. Oh, it tears me up to see a grown man cry. So I never go around mirrors. Well, I can't stand to see me without you by my side. So I never go around mirrors because I got a heartache to hide. Well, I can't stand to be where a heartache's hang around. It's so easy for the blues to get me down. To see a grown man crawl would be more than I could stand. Well, I can't look into the eyes of half a man, so I never go around mirrors. Well, I can't stand to see me without you by my side. No, I never go around mirrors because I got a heartache to hide, and it tears me up to see a grown man cry.
All right, that is a classic. Keith Whitley did it. Steve Frizzell did it, and it's timeless. It really is.
It is.
Next week on the show, tentatively scheduled, we're going to talk some Vinton County High School football with new Viking head coach Marcus Games. He's going to come in and join us. And we hope to have Misty Napier talking about the University of Rio Grande and local musician Charlie Manring. So we're going to have a full house next week. At least, you know, that's what we have tentatively planned. So come in and join us next week. And Sean, thanks so much for joining us.
I thank you so much for having me.
It's a lot of fun.
Oh my gosh, it was fun.
And we got out the history book and
Yeah, yeah. That's awesome that I could do this for days on end.
And I understand that want to plug another show. You can hear songs like that on 100.9 Hank FM, on the Total Media Radio app, on the Miss Kitty Show, and several others. And we are working to play part of this show on Hank FM. So we hope to have some snippets of this show on Miss Kitty's show. We trying to get that arranged so we can kind of share Sean's talent with Southern Ohio in a more expansive way. And we have several new stations, and one of them is in the Waverly area, and he plays over in Waverly and Chillicothe area a lot. So anyway, my name's Red Thompson, and we thank not only Sean but Hayden Milliken for joining us today. And remember, out at the Jackson County Fair, the sale's just getting underway. Go out and support the kids. In Vinton County tonight, come out for the parade in MacArthur as the Vinton County Junior Fair kicks off with the parade and the Queen's Contest tomorrow night. So that's going to do it, and try not to stand too much close to those mirrors, Sean.
No, I never go around them. Never go around them.
Okay, this is Red Thompson. Thank you for joining us, everybody. We'll see you next week.
Thank y'all.